Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you very much. I always like to say that in this kind of a setting, we listeners are really co-creators of a performance. And so I want to congratulate all of us and all of you as well on creating such a beautifully focused and calm and sort of transcendent performance. But especially thank you to Lisa and Julian. Lisa, do you want to maybe just talk us through the program that you played, and then Julian can talk a little bit about his piece?
So I started with a piece by Philip Glass called Metamorphosis 2. And then I proceeded to play Hannah Lash's Trills, which is an etude she wrote a few years ago for me. And then I played a piece by Julia Wolfe called Earring. That was the one with the very glittery stuff up the top. And that's a short piece she wrote a few years ago. And then I played Philip Glass Etude Number 2 from 1994. And then Julian joined me for a piece that we have out on our new album, which is Prelude Number 13. So, which is my favorite one of the set, and I think it's so beautifully blended. So that was the program.
Julian, can you tell us a little bit about, I think you were mentioning that the composition of your piece grows out of a meditation practice too. I'd love to hear a little bit about how that comes into being.
Well, I think the exploration of the inner life, it's crucial in my music process. I think we are living in a world full of saturation. You know, the TV, the news, the marketing, the social media, or the pretension of the social media, and what we sell to the people through these eyes. So I in my work, I try to fight this everyday situation with a clean and clean music structure. I try to create that space where the communication between the music and the listener, it's sacrosanct, almost, you know, la comunión. So I don't want to push the people there, but I would like to think my music invite the people to meditation. And I think it's not about religion or what you believe in. I think it's more about that space where you can be, you know, sitting and speak with yourself. Also very difficult to find these moments right now. So I composed these last 2 cycles, the preludes and 1 cycle before with for a soprano, and they both explore the dark and the light that we have, you know, in our interior, how we can work with them. So how can we talk about what is happening around us if we do not know what is happening within us? So I think that is the big question.
Yeah, thank you. One thing that really struck me about all the pieces on the program was that they really connected to the idea of practice, which is so fundamental to meditation. Of course, usually when we meditate, we talk about it. It's always practice. It's never finished or accomplished, and certainly never a performance. And it's so integral to the art of a musician also to practice. And I think often what they have in common is to just focus on isolating something and repeating that, and trying to keep other variables constant and sort of seeing what happens when you stick with something. And often the sort of really transcendent opening can happen when you stay with something that seems seemingly boring for a while, or that seems to be almost like resisting our desire for constant novelty. And Lisa, I would love to hear about what it's like for you as a performer to bring that kind of spacious patience to some of these pieces where things seem to stay in one plane, and then suddenly one chord shift or one change of rhythm can really open up new doors.
Yeah, well, I'm not a particularly patient person, so it's a big challenge for me to do slower music. I spent most of my younger days doing very difficult virtuosic music, and I just in the past few years, well, since I started with the Glass project, learning a lot of Philip Glass's music and recording it, I felt that it was just so much more, I don't know, expression of trying to just slow down and just trying to be in one place. And I found that what Thomas was saying at the beginning about in the meditation were things that we tell ourselves as performers all the time, you know, not to judge, not to let the thoughts come in, or if they do, that's okay. But, you know, I think as a performer, it's your inner voices and the demons that are telling you these things when you're playing. And so the Glass is a place particularly for where I have to be sitting back. And that doesn't mean that things don't come into your head and interfere with it, but it's been really great for me personally to do this music, which I just think is just so beautiful as well. And even just when you think it's expected, something unexpected happens within the music anyway. So it's just been really great for my own feeling. And then actually when Julian came to my disc launch of the Glass, and he introduced himself at that disc launch and then said what I want to do a disc of his music. So that's how we got to know each other. And because he's a great fan of Philip Glass as well. But even in Hannah Lash's piece, I felt that sort of suspension with the trill, the constant floating, had aspects of a kind of fantasy, exploration of kind of nervous energy, and very Hannah's very intense, and I think people's music, it comes out what their personalities, whether they want to or not, not necessarily, but and I think that Hannah's music is very it can be considered calm, or it can be considered very nervous, I think. I don't know, what did you think of it? Did people feel it was appropriate after the Glass?
I'd love to hear comments or like questions also from the audience, and we do have microphones that
it's a big change from the Glass to that, and then to the Wolfe, the Julia Wolfe piece.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, when you're programming, whether you should go gently into everything or just, is it a big shock? Anybody have any feedback?
I thought the transitions between the pieces was actually the most effective part, bringing it into meditation. You sort of are in one piece and you get a little bit lulled, and particularly the very striking entrance to each one of the pieces was a path back into awareness and the moment and the consciousness of the moment, as opposed to sort of getting lost in space. It was, to me, the best part of the whole connection of the pieces and the meditation.
It reminded me to keep letting go of the I like this, I don't like this, just notice it, be with it. And so I really loved, here I go, I loved, but I appreciated the variety in terms of it being helpful to the practice of meditating and just staying with an open mind.
Yeah.
I find often when I go to concerts now, if I listen with my eyes closed, I get such more pleasure from it, and I think that the entrance from meditation into that, maybe, did a lot of people have their eyes closed during the, I think it really does help to take it in. And
I know that for me, the crescendo in the, I think it was the first Philip Glass, right? There's like this, it just seemed like this enormous surge of sound that was, because I kept my eyes closed, it was really visceral, like I was being sort of carried on this big wave, and that was just a really beautifully embodied way of connecting to the music. Thank you so much. I, as always, want to be mindful of the fact that we are in the middle of a working day for many of us, and thank you all for making time and space on a Friday to come and spend a little bit of time on mindfulness and music. Please do come back. February brings Baroque music next week on period instruments. February 14th, romantic piano duets, four hands with really superstar pianists Alessio Bax and Lucille Chung. And then there's music for clarinet, viola, and piano with the principal clarinetist of the New York Philharmonic, Anthony McGill, on the 21st, and a wonderful guitarist on the 28th. So check the website. Please do come back. And on your way out, if you like, come and say hello, and also stop by a table where Lisa is selling CDs of some of her music. So thank you so much, and I hope to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.